Wars The Force Awakens. We wanted to make a video for the Keller column and my YouTube channel. And I can't do it without him, so he's in this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Star Wars The Force Awakens is finally here. Ever since they announced years ago that Disney had bought the rights to Lucasfilm, we finally have Star Wars The Force Awakens in theaters.
It's
here.
About time.
It's here.
About time.
All right, so we're going to let's talk about our anticipation, how the day went, a little bit briefly. Let's talk about our positives of the film, some negatives if we've got them, and then a rating out of 10. So.
And this is a spoiler review.
Oh, yeah, full spoilers. Do not watch this if you haven't seen the movie. We're going to go into full spoilers, things we don't want anyone to have ruined for them. We don't want to be that guy. So,
if you haven't seen it, which you should have by now,
get out of here. I mean, only like 10 people ever watch my videos, and it's never friends, so we're fine. All right, so anticipation. Kyle, let's start with you. Anticipation going into Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Well, I'm not the biggest of Star Wars fans. I am mostly the movies guys. Like, I don't go into the comic books, the actual novels. I'm not that huge at all. But when I heard that they were making more Star Wars movies, just like everyone else, I was excited for it. And I was waiting for them to make it, to get it started. And when we were waiting in line at the movie theater, that's when really my anticipation for it was going up. Just by all the trailers I kept seeing, by all the news I kept hearing about, J.J. Abrams being on board, having the old cast brought back together, plus being around all those other Star Wars fans. That's when I really knew that this was going to be something special.
Yeah, for me, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. Star Wars is the earliest memory I have. I love Star Wars. My brother and I, my friends and I would play Star Wars all the time. We created our own universe. It was deeply rooted into my soul. And I have been incredibly excited. And it slowly started to hit me as the school semester ended until yesterday when we were in line. We were the third group in line. And we met a lot of fun people. We met a lot of nerds. We were getting sweaty. The nerd juice was just flowing. And all it did was build up and build up.
The excitement filled the theater.
And very rarely being in the theater with the fans is why you go see these type of films. You get in line, you see it. I mean, we just had a friend tell us one of his complaints was that he hated people cheering during the movie. But it's hard not to when you're with the biggest nerds on the planet and you finally see Han Solo, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, C-3PO, R2-D2, the Falcon. When you see those, everyone goes nuts. And it deserves to go nuts because this is a property that's so special to a lot of people's hearts and my heart. Yeah. Next, we're going to talk about the positives. All right, so anticipation levels were high. We both were very excited. Not as big of a fan, a huge fan of the Star Wars franchise. Excited to get a new installment after the prequels. Yeah, so excitement levels were high. Now we've seen the film. What are your positives about the film?
Well, first off, let's start off with the new characters that were brought into this. Every single one of these characters brought something different to the film, but it still felt like Star Wars as a whole to me. We got the new characters Poe, Finn, Rey, BB-8. They're all just so much fun to watch. Each one of them just brings a new level of excitement to the story. I think the actors killed it with their parts. They made you fall in love with these characters instantly. And they were just so much fun to watch. They were exciting. You still want to know more about these characters. We don't know their whole entire stories.
They
of
had
their past or
fantastic chemistry.
Yeah, the actors especially.
They plucked Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey, and John Boyega, who plays Finn, out of nowhere. They were not doing, especially Daisy Ridley, was not doing much, and their chemistry, was off the charts. It was like they were best friends who had grown up for years and finally got to make a movie together. And then since you bring up the characters, Adam Driver as Kylo Ren kills it. We are getting a character. Vader is one of the greatest villains of all time. He's powerful. He was menacing. Avoid the prequels and his whiny crumpet acting. But he was menacing. You feared him in the original trilogy. And now we're getting a character who has a lot of layers to him. You can tell he's fighting the good and the bad. And one thing, it's been about 24 hours. I've talked to many nerds. We've gotten very sweaty.
Yes.
And one thing somebody pointed out to me was that Kylo Ren, a lot of Jedi get seduced by the dark side. The dark side tempts them. And it's the opposite for Kylo Ren. He is full on point of view that the dark side is what is right, and he talks to Vader's helmet and says the light is seducing me again, guide me. So we're getting someone who's very strongly point of view in one direction on the dark side, who has so many layers. He pulls his lightsaber out when he's pissed off and just starts slashing stuff.
There's a lot of hidden anger within him.
He kills it, knocks it right out of the park.
And I was really surprised how much he knocked it out of the park. Because earlier in Adam Driver's career, from the little bits I've seen of him, like he's been good, but he's almost played the same character. So I wasn't quite sure how I should anticipate him going into this film. But now I'm ready to see more of him. He might have easily have been my favorite character in this new movie. Hands down.
Daisy Ridley. Kylo, I think, would be my second, but Daisy Ridley as Rey killed it. Because there is a scene. They're fighting. John Boyega has been beaten down. Finn is beaten. And Rey uses the Force to get Luke's saber and turns it on. The theater goes nuts. And you know that right now we have a strong female character that is going to be, throughout all of these films, a complete badass. Because we know in Episode 8, she's with Luke now. She's going to be getting trained by, right now, the only Jedi and one of the most powerful Jedi that has ever lived in Luke Skywalker. She has the potential to become the most powerful Jedi in the universe. I'm incredibly excited that we finally are getting a strong female character.
It's been a good year for female characters,
yes,
too.
Has.
I mean, Charlize Theron's character from Mad Max. Rogue Nation's female character. I'm spacing
Alicia Vikander from Even Ex Machina.
Yeah, it's been really good for female talent. Yeah.
So we got the characters. Another thing, a positive, is the humor.
Yeah.
The humor could have gone wrong. The humor could have been so cheesy.
It could have been prequel humor.
The original trilogy has humor.
Yes.
Not as much, but it's not campy. This was J.J. Abrams' flavor humor. And the humor hits on every point.
Yep.
Every single joke that was supposed to get laughter got huge laughs from the entire theater. I mean, the one joke with Han and Chewie about his gun is hysterical. The first time Han shoots his gun, you see on his face 30, 40 years of being together, and he has never once fired this gun, and he's wondering why he hasn't sooner, and he keeps bringing it up. The John Boyega is incredibly funny, incredibly Han Solo-ish, but has a little bit more humor to him. BB-8, next positive. BB-8 has humor, has heart, and you fall in love with the little droid right away. To the point where I want to see BB-8, R2-D2, and C-3PO throughout the rest of the films.
Have all three of them together. That'd be pretty great. Hopefully we'll get that in Episode 8.
Episode 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Keep cranking them. Next positive.
The action scenes. Almost every action scene, I think, killed it. Like, especially the lightsaber scenes at the end, for instance. I mean, not too choreographed, didn't look too choreographed like in the prequels. Didn't look too, lame.
Good balance.
As in the originals, though they're awesome, don't get me wrong. But we got a new kind of fighting style, I think, when it comes to these fighting scenes. And I really enjoyed them. Like, it had grit to it, and it still looked like there was some choreograph to it. But at the same time, you got a sense of, like, danger. You got a sense of the adventure. And that's what I really loved about it. They just looked awesome.
You could tell when John Boyega first gets the saber, because he was bred to be a stormtrooper. He knows combat. He knows weapons. whether he's never used a lightsaber before, he knows that type of a sword, a saber type of weapon, and he's trained with weapons. And you can tell he's got more ability with it than Daisy Ridley.
Yeah.
But when she gets it, she's using the Force and following her instinct and just trying to do what she can to win the fight. And that fight kills it.
Yeah.
Because that fight starts to transition between the X-Wings and that fight. And the X-Wing, a lot of people have problems with the X-Wing battle. They think it's forced in. I thought it was fine. But I definitely wanted that battle more than anything on the ground. Because in the trailer, we see Kylo Ren as his saber. John Boyega turns on Luke's, and John Boyega looks scared as Kylo Ren charges him. Well, in the film, that's not what happens.
Right.
And John Boyega's pissed off, and he storms at Kylo Ren, not caring. And then Rey sees him get beaten down. He gets slashed on the spine.
Yeah.
And it tells her to open up to the Force. And then when it looks like Kylo has her number, and he's about to kill her and knock her down as the planet is ripping open, as the destroyer's ripping open, she meditates. And it actually reminded me of one of the few good things of the prequels, which is the Darth Maul fight, when they're shut off from each other by the doors, and Qui-Gon meditates. He may have lost the fight, but he meditated to the Force, that he is on a Jedi, on the light, and I loved it. There were so many parallels in between the original trilogy and A New Hope into this one, and I thought it hit on every single point.
Right.
Negatives. What little negatives do you have in this film, or do you have a lot?
Not a whole lot that I can say of, but a little bit of nitpickiness at this point, I think. One thing that I can think of off the top of my head would be the awakening of R2-D2. Because at first they say that R2-D2 hasn't been awakened in a couple of years, ever since Luke Skywalker left. And like you were saying, like C-3PO said that R2-D2 may never be the same again, but once he turns on, it seems like that all went out the window. Like, he seemed fine. He seemed to be the same R2-D2 that we know and love. And I just thought that was a little bit weird about how that all went out the window, and how we don't really know how it was that he was able to turn on, though. Who knows? Maybe in Episode 8 that will be explained somehow. But that was just one thing that I noticed that was a little bit nitpicky. Also, Snoke was also kind of a small little thing. I don't know if he carried as much weight to the movie as he could have. I don't know if to me, he seemed pretty terrifying, or he seemed interesting as a character that I want to know more about, but I just don't know for the rest of the audience how they perceive him or not.
Are those all your negatives, good sir?
Yeah.
That's not much. I agree with the R2. Yeah. Watching the R2 thing in the theater, I was like, oh, come on. He just turns on when they need him. It is still a down point to me in the, not a down point, but something I definitely noticed. But I did also have a friend, and we were talking off camera about this. I had a friend who said to me, that was probably Luke. That Luke had used the Force, and that this might be explained in Episode 8 on R2, because Daisy Ridley has a bunch of visions, and there are a bunch of scenes in the trailer that are shown in multiple trailers that we were expecting, the Knights of Ren, and Luke on that planet holding R2, putting his mechanical hand on R2, and none of those are all visions, which are probably flashbacks. My speculation is flashbacks when Luke tells Daisy Ridley, the story, now that they've met, the story of how Kylo Ren turned to the dark side. Right. And I think all those will move in, and I bet you we see Luke do something with R2 or do something to R2 that says, you need to be off until it's time for me to come back. And then because Luke has the Force, he's the most powerful Jedi. When Han goes down, Luke knows. Yeah. Leia knows. They know. Their Force, they have the Forces within them. They know the ways of the Force. And I think Luke says, all right, R2, it's time. And he uses the Force, and he turns R2 on and says, you need to let them know where I am. Things have gotten out of hand. I've been away for too long. It is still a negative issue I had, but we will see more in Episode 8, which may make me change my mind.
Yeah, that's true.
I liked Snoke. He did not look the way I thought Snoke would look, but I did like him. I wish he would have been used more, but he's going to be used more as time goes on.
They're making more movies for
You don't get an Andy Serkis in the mocap if you do not use him more and more. Same with Lupita Nyong'o. If you go get an Oscar-winning actress and she is one mocap character, you use her. And that's one problem I've heard a lot of people have, is that when the two mocap characters show up, that people, it's so practical that they stick out as mocap characters. I thought it was fine. I was immersed in the story. I thought they looked great mocap-wise, so it didn't bother me. Snoke, one thing I have is he's huge, and it might be interesting to see if he actually is that big, but he was a hologram. He was being projected to them, so there's a possibility he could be smaller and just projecting himself. That was a little bit of something, but besides that, I loved all of it. There isn't much negatives I have, and there's not much negatives I have in the original trilogy either, and that's okay. A lot of people are saying, if you don't have a negative like I do, you're wearing your Star Wars goggles and you're doing the same you did with the prequels, and I don't think that's the case, and I think a lot of critics don't think that's the case, because you read a lot of reviews and people say, I wanted to look for flaws. I was looking for flaws, and I could only find a few. And one critic, we talked about this a little bit earlier, that I really liked said this: when you watch the prequels, for every one good thing you find, you could find 5 bad things. For every one good thing, a lightsaber fight, trade negotiation, Jar Jar Binks, poor dialogue, poor acting. But for this, it's for every one bad thing you find, you can find 5 good things or more. It's R2 could have been used a little bit better, but the fighting was awesome. The characters were great. The dialogue was sweet. Just everything about it. Just, you get immersed in the story, and it made me love this film, and I need to see it again. I've literally talked about it all day. It's been 24 hours, and I have not stopped talking about Star Wars. I will not stop talking about Star Wars until this movie, never. Until Rogue One, we'll start talking about that, and it is done. Star Wars is here to stay, and I'm incredibly excited, and this movie is that good. All right, so now we're going to recap everything, quickly go over positives and negatives, and then give a score out of 10. So you do your positive negatives one more time, real quick. I'll do it, and then we'll both give our ratings.
All right, positives, great characters, great writing, great action sequences. Altogether, bringing the old parts of Star Wars in with the new parts of Star Wars, mashing it all together, it worked out perfectly, I think. Little nitpicky things, but not really anything for negatives overall. Honestly, I'd say 10 out of 10. Star Wars The Force Awakens is that awesome.
The R2-D2 thing could have been handled a little bit better. That's all I got. Literally it. Everything else I loved. I never wanted to look at my watch and say, why are we not out of here yet? I want to be done. I wanted to look at my watch and say, oh my gosh, are we about over? I want to watch more. I want to go into episode 8 as soon as it's done. The characters, the writing, everything. George Lucas gave us one of the greatest stories ever. And now other people are getting to put their creative minds together and expand it. And we, as the fans, are winning because this is a Star Wars film. It is beautifully done. It is incredible. The writing, everything about it, JJ's firing on all cylinders. And the best part is it left you on a cliffhanger where you wanted episode 8 in the theater next to you and you wanted to walk in and just start watching. You wanted more. You went into this movie with a lot of questions and you came out with a lot of answers, but even more questions, and you want episode 8. It wasn't like the prequels where Phantom Menace ends with a little bow tie. They transition into Attack of the Clones and it's a bow tie. Transition into Revenge of the Sith, bow tie. Cliffhangers make people want to go back, especially in a beloved franchise and story and idea. I am so excited for episode 8. It is not even funny. I can't even wait 2 years. I'm more excited than Rogue One.
Yeah.
Because I need all of my questions answered. I give Star Wars The Force Awakens a 10 out of 10. Welcome to the 10 Club. Don't spoil this for people. It is unfair to others, and it just makes you a dick. Go see it in the theaters. It deserves your money. Please go see it in the theaters. This movie deserves your money. If you like this video, share it. I know we're awful. We know we're awful. We have no equipment. We're just two nerds sweating it out. Want to talk to the one sweaty we're talking to, the one nerd who wants to listen, which is probably one of our mothers. Thank you. May the force be with you. Bye-bye.